Dr. Quetzal's a real mystery. But I can turn that to my advantage. I just need to focus on the strangest pieces of the puzzle. So when did Albert become a resident of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4 years ago.
Could you describe that day more specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve, maybe the first week of the year, if I'm not mistaken. It was sleeting that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
What was your first impression of them?
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
And Albert?
He was new to me, an invisible gray ghost. The family had tried to keep his existence a secret.
Why?
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Featherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first impression of him?
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he couldn't wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
Didn't you think of that as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
What kind of special treatment did Albert get?
You know, if an institution like ours has to accept a Wessler as a guest, there's bound to be some favoritism.
And complete secrecy, I guess.
Yes, but that's the case for all our patients, Mr. Featherland.
Of course. So in what way did he receive more than the others?
Basically, we don't admit anyone into our institution without a complete and thorough prior assessment. In the case of Albert, we put that aside.
So you didn't even know if he had anything wrong with him?
Initially, no. He was more of a guest than a patient.
How did you see Albert when you first met?
Albert was shy and reserved, like a ghost. He almost never touched anything. It was evident he was exceptionally intelligent. He measured and observed everything around him.
What else?
He was delicate and graceful, almost like a woman. Yes. He was rather feminine. He was an artist, Mr. Featherland, a magnificent painter, and rather good writer, too. Sometimes I even heard him sing.
Why did he have to be locked up?
I asked the same thing at first.
Are you telling me Albert had multiple personalities?
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
He had these seizures from the beginning.
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what? Left the institution? More than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Quetzal's not only very observant, but he's addicted to details. I must focus on that if I want to get closer to the truth. Focus. Addicted to details. So Albert could just walk in and out.
Far from it, Mr. Featherland, though Mr. Hobart Wessler had appeared on many occasions and took Albert with him. At those times, he usually brought him back the same day or the next at the latest.
What was the purpose of these outings?
Albert Wessler was working on a painting, Mr. Featherland.
Oh, yes, the painting. It's all starting to come together now.
So, you've heard about the painting?
Sure I have. Did Albert tell you about his relationship with his brother?
Rarely. He respected and loved his brother, but when he came to talk, he was usually angry.
Oh, why?
Oh, fear, jealousy, frustration, rivalry, maybe all of these combined.
So Albert left on many occasions to continue working on the painting.
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
More dangerous?
Albert was hurting himself. And on one occasion, he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Do you think the painting caused it?
Not the painting, Mr. Featherland.
But its subject.
Exactly. He was obsessed, right until that fateful day when he returned to us for the last time.
What exactly happened that day, Doctor?
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a terrible, terrible state.
What happened to him?
I don't like to talk about that, Mr. Featherland.
It could be vital to the case, Dr. Quetzal. Don't back down.
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out, or cut off, I don't know exactly, and he was blinded in one eye, or rather, one of his eyes was missing entirely.
So you're saying Albert was brought back horribly mutilated?
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
Dr. Quetzal is cold and professional, but he's also very confused. Maybe it's cruel, but I must exploit his vulnerability if I want to learn everything about Albert. Focus. Maybe it's not easy for you to talk about it, but did you examine his wounds thoroughly?
I'm not that kind of doctor, Mr. Featherland, but even I could determine his tongue was either cut out or bitten off, and his eye was gouged out. He also had several broken bones.
But there's no doubt it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was, Mr. Featherland.
I totally agree. Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom? The four walls? A couple of crazies? You?
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's that simple, Doctor. But thank you for your honest opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
What happened then? How did Albert disappear?
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
What did Hobart do during the visit?
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Couldn't you manage to draw anything out of him? You or Hobart?
Nothing. For a while, he was trying to signal something. Perhaps he was too afraid. And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think Hobart could have killed Albert?
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure of it.
How did he disappear in the end? Did someone come for him?
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see anything?
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness. We don't know what happened to him.
Unfortunately, I have a hunch. Thank you, Doctor. You've been a great help.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of help. But please, I now must attend to my work.
We understand, Doctor. Thank you. That's quite shocking information.
I think you understand why we kept it a secret. If it wasn't for Mr. Wessler's demand, we'd never let any of our patients walk freely outside our institution.
Then the accident happened.
Accident? Ha! We didn't believe it, not for a second. After Albert came back to us, horribly mutilated, he was different.
Different how?
If someone got one of his eyes poked out and his tongue torn out, he'd be different, but not like this. Albert was a different person.
We believe you, Doctor. So, can we take a look at Albert's cell?
I'd rather call it his room. Mr. Wessler lived in exceptional circumstances.
Thanks to the Wessler name, I guess.
Yes. Well, we try to make all of our patients stay as comfortable as possible, but Albert certainly enjoyed special favoritism.
I hope you don't mind if we take a look around in there.
That's not going to bother anyone.
Well, that's, surprising.
I've never seen a cell like this before, that's for sure. I wouldn't mind living here myself.
It seems that being a Wessler gets you privileges.
And a healthy dose of danger.
Mostly that, yeah. Let's take a good look around. I'm sure we'll find some answers here. I can almost smell them.
Well, I smell paint, ink, plaster, some kind of oil, aging paper, slight smell of rat, and great expectations.
What the dickens?
Unmistakable. Yeah.
This place is bad for you, pal. But if you've already jump-started your beak holes, then sniff out the solution.
I'm on it, Boss Bird.